Hello, our cloud enthusiasts. This is Anas, and you are tuning into our very first episode of Azure Cloud Mock Interview Preparation Series. A brand new episode dedicating to help you conquer the Azure cloud interaction with confidence. Today, the basic discussions we want to bring it out, it will be based on the exciting journey. And I could believe to tell you that this is going to be one of the most interesting sessions you guys have ever seen. Our series comes with an extraordinary people. Like today, we have joining me Vikas, a cloud computing veteran with over 20 years experience, who helped countless professionals land their dreams in Azure roles. Together, we'll be breaking down complex Azure concepts, sharing insiders, interview tips, also revealing about the recruiters and their point of view on that way. We'll be discussing all such topics and all such questions which usually brings questions and a buzz in the field of Azure to the people. So whether you are preparing for your first cloud role, or you are aiming for your senior positions, or you are buckling up to game-changing insights or looking for something new, get your notepads ready because this one episode is going to bring you a lot of information with you. Thank you, Vikas, joining us today. Over to you. Would you like to share some thoughts of yours, please?
Thank you for having me, Anas, here. I'm truly excited to kick off this first episode. With over 20 years of experience in cloud computing and infrastructure, I have witnessed the start of technology firsthand, and today I am eager to share practical insight that will help our listeners excel in their interviews. We are not just covering the basics here, we will dive into real-world scenarios that interviewers love to explore.
That's absolutely fine. Nice having you, Vikas. Thank you so much. To all our viewers, we will be tackling a lot of concepts today to understand like infrastructures and compute, networking and community, talking about the storage and data services. Along with that, we also talk about identity access management. We'll also understand about the management and monitoring, security and the compliances, cost management, optimizations. A lot of things we have today in discussions, and this is going to be very interesting to all of you. So without ado, let's start with infrastructures and compute, where because it's the place from where it's all started. So because can you describe the process of deploying and managing virtual machines in Azure?
So deploying an Azure Virtual Machines can be done through multiple methods. We have a very interesting method, Azure Portal, Azure CLI, PowerShell, or ARM templates. I'll cover the basic steps on the one of the method through a portal. So when you log into the portal, portal.azure.com, click on the create virtual machine options, and there you select some basic options. Select your subscription, select your resource group where you want to deploy, virtual machine name, and target region, and virtual machine size and basic passwords. And finally, select your networking and which inbound port you need to allow on those machines to connect to the RDP and basic disk size. That's all.
That's absolutely nice. I mean, it's very crisp and clear to understand our viewers that how they can just set up their virtual. But I don't think there's one more thing comes with this. It's called the size of Azure VM. So the next thing we would love to know from you, Vikas, what are the sizes of Azure VM?
So what happened when you try to deploy some virtual machines and depend upon what's your workload requirements. Sometimes you need a basic virtual machine. Sometimes you need high computing. Sometimes you need more graphical series VM. So Microsoft Azure divide into some classification on these sizes. It can be divided into some categories like general purpose VMs, maybe high compute but optimized VMs. Example, F series something. There are something which you need more memory optimized, E series, M series. Sometimes you need more storage optimized VM, we call it as LSV2 series. And last not least, when you need something more graphically optimized VM, N series. So those are the couple of bifurcations we have, depend upon what kind of workload you need to deploy and what level of resource you need.
That's nice. That's very well you explained about all those different categories. But one thing now which we wanted to know about, because there's a lot of buzz which we have seen in terms of our learners, that they usually talk about the availability set. So what do you understand about the availability set? What's your point of view on that?
So availability set means suppose you deploy two VMs together, and by chance, both the VMs comes into a same region, same data center zone, and by chance some issue happen on this zone, definitely my both the VMs got crashed at the same time. So to avoid that, Microsoft has a concept called availability set, where we use two different technical terms called fault domain and update domain. Fault domain means represent your physical racks, and update domain means represent your logical group of planned maintenance activity. It means when we deploy two or more virtual machine together under availability set, so they make sure all the VMs should not be on the same rack, so that if any issue happen into a one of the zone, it will have another virtual machine available all the time as a high availability. So this is used for three important purposes: fault tolerance, maintenance redundancy, and 99.95% service level agreement uptime.
That's very great. Nice to have this exact point of view. With this, there's one thing a lot come in our mind is this troubleshoot RDP connections, which we usually heard. So how do you troubleshoot an RDP connections to an Azure virtual machine?
So I'll give you a short basic to advanced idea about it. And so first we need to check whether virtual machine is running or not from the portal. If it is, make sure it's running. Then we need to check whether RDP is enabled from the firewall or not, from the Windows firewall perspective. Then third, very important step, you need to check network security group, which is a basic rules we need to check. NSG normally we attach at subnet level or NIC level to the VM, and there we need to check whether RDP port is allowed 3389. Any other security center policies is enabled or not under Defender for Cloud. That also we need to check. And finally, we need to check whether public IP or private IP connectivity is enabled or not.
That's nice. That's very crisp to understand. But along with that, there's one more thing which we have observed that is called connectivity issues. So how do troubleshoot connectivity issues between virtual machines within the Azure works?
So say example, I have a virtual network where two virtual machines are connected with the same virtual network. So first we need to figure out where the virtual machine is running. Is it a part of same virtual network? If it is a virtual machine part of same virtual network, definitely there's a connectivity by default. But if you are trying to communicate two different VMs belongs to two different VNets, definitely we need to check whether connectivity is enabled or not. Maybe a VNet peering, maybe a VPN services, and or last we need to check whether in NSG ICMP firewall rule is enabled or not in that case.
That's very nice. That's very good. Thank you. With this, we wanted to understand one more thing, because networking and connectivity is also an important part in Azure. So what are the high-level requirements before establishing site-to-site connectivity, which you will recommend?
So we have two kinds of connectivity here between in the cloud. One is if you have on-premises data center available, then on-premises to Azure, we have a site-to-site connectivity, one option. Second, we have if you have two different data center in cloud, means cloud to cloud. So that also we can do the site-to-site VPN connectivity. And or if you have two different VNets within your same Azure subscription, then we can do a peering option as a normal connectivity.
Oh, that's nice. But still, there is one more thing. If we talk about the configuration of the load balancer, I mean, how do you configure a load balancer, and why should I have a backend pool for the load balancer?
Yeah, so load balancer means we are not deploying a one single resource. The issue is when single resource get crashed, definitely we are not able to access the application. Load balancer means couple of instances running on the back end, and load will come into the load balancer, so that if one of the instance got crashed, so that second instance will handle my request. So in Azure, we have couple of load balancer options available. We have Azure Load Balancer, we have a traffic manager, we have front doors, we have application gateway. Depend upon what type of load balancer we need, layer 4, layer 7, and what benefits we need. Then based on the requirement, we need to choose the right load balancer as per the need.
Oh, that sounds interesting. But with this, there's another thing that comes into our mind, that is storage and data services. And how do you ensure the security of our data in Azure storage?
Storage security, high level, you need to make sure authentication and access control, the connectivity or access has to be done with Azure AD, number one. If you need to give access to somebody on a time-based or permission-based, limited permission, shared access signature has to be used. Azure storage keys, we have two keys and we need to rotate the keys regularly. and storage has to be accessed through a private endpoint. And finally, the data encryption has to be enabled. We call it as encryption at rest and encryption in transit.
That's interesting. But there's another thing that comes into the discussion. Usually we see about that identity access management. So explaining the process of integrating Azure Active Directory, that is Azure AD, with on-premises Active Directory, how would you like to show your point of view on this point?
Yes, in last 20 years, we are using Active Directory on-premises AD, and now last few years, we have Azure Active Directory. The new name is Entra ID into the cloud. So if we have together and we need to integrate, we need to use a tool called Azure AD Connect. Azure AD Connect become a hybrid connectivity between on-premises identity as well as cloud. In that solution, we have a couple of choices to choose as authentication method, and we have four important types: password hash sync, password authentication, federation with ADFS, and hybrid identity combination of any of them. So based on the requirement, we need to choose one of the option as a solution.
Okay, that's interesting. But how anyone can manage the resource in Azure then?
So if you have multiple resources in Azure and you want to manage and do this basic management, so we have a couple of options to use. One is you can do it through a GUI graphically through Azure portal. You can do it through Azure Resource Manager, ARM template, including ISE as a control or ARM templates, or you can use Azure CLI. You can use through Azure PowerShell. So multiple options you have to just manage those resources. Depend upon how you comfortable with which kind of method, you need to choose one of them.
That is nice. That is interesting. So along with this, there's another thing that comes into our mind, that is security and compliances. When we talk about security and compliances, the very first thing that comes to our mind is policies. So what are the Azure policies and how do you apply them?
So Azure policy is very important component in Azure, help us to enforce governance across your cloud environment.
Mhm.
And its main benefit is used to create, assign, and manage policy to the Azure resources to comply with organization standards and regulatory requirements.
That sounds interesting. But this is another thing that is very side by side runs regarding the policies. It is called cost management and optimization. So we would love to know from you. Can you describe a scenario where you optimize Azure cost very well?
So I'll take one small example. The customer says, I have a bill of $10,000. Can you reduce to 15%? In that case, without deleting the stuff, can I reduce my bill to 15% or 20%? Then cost optimization come into the picture. In that, we need to take care, analyze the resource utilization. We use two important components in that case, Azure Monitor and Azure Advisor, to
Okay.
analyze. And based on that, we need to take some calls, example, to resize the VM size, storage optimization, some licensing optimization. We do some automation to start and shut down scheduling of this, some run books, and we can optimize your bandwidth, or we can do a continuous monitoring to optimize your taggings and billing things. So a couple of options we can plan together, and we try to reduce the bill as much as possible without deleting the stuff.
Oh, that's interesting. That's like collecting information in a very precise way. But
Yeah.
still, the next thing that we talk about is disaster recovery. So, I mean, the business continuity is very important also, as you mentioned about without hampering the task. In the same way, can you discuss the different type of disaster recovery solutions available in Azure?
Yeah, Azure offers multiple disaster service recovery solutions to help business ensure continuity. So we have Azure Site Recovery, one good options where if my primary region is not working, we have a DR copy into the another region. We can plan our backup solutions to protect our solutions or data whenever some service failover happen, or we can deploy some Azure high availability zones where one virtual machine is running on one zone, one is into the another one, means high availability within a region. Or last, we can do something called Azure region to region replication, where one instance running on one region and replica copy into the another one.
But this is one more thing comes to our mind that 10 years back, there's one thing which was very much in the discussion was about the cloud and cloud architecture and its deployment of the models. So can you explain the different deployment models of the cloud in Azure?
So 10 years back, we use only what you call private cloud or our own data center cloud. But after that, scale up happened and we have multiple options come up. And now in that, we have public cloud where anybody can use this public cloud like AWS, GCP, or Azure. pay-as-you-go model, where we are not going to spin up a cost, whatever we are going to consume, we just pay-as-you-go. And second model we have called private cloud, where we build our own private cloud with the help of VMware Stack, OpenStack, or Microsoft Azure Stack, where we purchase those servers and we integrate with our on-premises, and only one company can have access to those single private cloud. The name itself very clear, private. And in some cases, we use Azure as a public and private combined together, we call it as hybrid cloud. So altogether, we have three major solutions. One is public, one is private, and one is a hybrid cloud.
That's absolutely interesting and amazing. But one thing that comes into my mind, and it's very out of the box, I want to ask to you that, let's say somebody is at a senior position, or could be at a junior position, or could be trying to new career in this Azure field. What's your stance on AI? I mean, what do you think AI can play a role, or how we should look AI while being in the field of Azure? What's your point of view on that?
So AI will help us to give a what you call insight on some important task or some solution as a helping end. End of the day, for as a engineer or as a customer, we need to define our policies by manually itself or through a automation tool. But AI can help us as a path oriented, how we can do in an easy way as a helping end. That's what I feel as of now, until unless there is a more exploration happen on this AI, and then we'll see what is the real use case come into the cloud.
Splendid. That's interesting. I mean, that's very amazing. The discussion was extremely amazing, I must say. I want to extend a massive thank to you, Vikas, for dropping out some serious knowledge about today. And before I wrap up, I would like to ask, do you want to have any advice for the listeners from your end, if they are looking for any type of preparation while they are going to have interaction with somebody regarding Azure?
So I can say, end of the day, this is a very competitive world, and whenever we are working in IT, our main goal is to learn more, gain more, and earn more. In that case, the main concept is we should be on top of the world in terms of skills. We should be ready with whatever it's coming in the market. So in that, we need, if you are working on any of the skill, working on on-prem, definitely a little bit knowledge or little move towards cloud is mandatory. You can choose any of the version in the cloud, but definitely that's a need as a demand.
That's interesting. Thank you so much for giving your valuable time today. We will for sure bring a more discussed, healthy discussion with Firas once again in future. We'll have a very interesting podcast too later on. This was a Chris understanding about some basic questions and basic discussions usually people see while they're having interactions with their learners or their upcoming examinations or interviews. So we brought up all this for you guys. Go through with these all learnings, informations, and make yourself strong enough to be competent in the market. Thank you so much and have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day.